Art star.
You started it.
I'll remember that. Sorry, you guys, I'm going to do a bad thing here. Okay.
More room. There's a couple chairs up here.
Once Cheryl gets everyone seated, we'll begin.
And we're over there. Okay.
Is everybody comfortable? Good to go? Because there are a few more seats up front. So it's fantastic, obviously, to have so many people here, and we know why you're here, to celebrate this remarkable artist and friend, Cheryl Lerondelle. I want to begin by acknowledging where we are, as we always must do. And in this case, I'll speak in the first person. I acknowledge that I live and work on Treaty 6 territory and the ancestral land of the Métis. I offer my respect and deep gratitude to the Nihilwak, Muskegowak, Nihitao, Lakota, Nakoda, Dakota, Soto, Anishinaabe, Dene, and Métis, past, present, and future ancestors of this land, because these lines are not of the past, but hold great futurity. Knowing that the past is the present and the future too, I wish to affirm our relationship with one another and seek to deepen its connection as one of legitimate reciprocity, bounded in the simultaneous actions of learning and unlearning as we come to know what it means to be responsible and planetary in our interconnection. The land acknowledgement is always fraught. It is often delivered as a kind of rote acknowledgement, and especially when the presence of Indigenous people, it's especially important that we acknowledge our individual responsibilities to work towards legitimate reciprocity and understand that the agreements of the past have not necessarily been delivered upon or fully understood. So the need to be open and ready and to unlearn perhaps those things we've been told is really key to these next steps. We know that no institution is neutral, and we know that that doesn't mean that absence of neutrality has to be bad. It actually can mean that in our assertion of our beliefs and desires, we start to become a place of true value to all the peoples of this land. And that is part of my team's aspirations and goals. And Cheryl brings to us an exceptional capacity of song, of the voice, of vocality that comes from multiple places, including directly from the land. So before I introduce Cheryl, a friend and an artist of great renown at this point, like fully as it should be, a recipient of the Governor General's Award and other acknowledgements, I want to thank so much our partners in this presentation, because this presentation is put together as a collaboration between Commonweal, the curator Judy Anderson, Paved Arts, and our capacity to work as an arts ecology, to bring things like this into being, is really a step towards the way we need to work. Not every site can do everything, but those of us that have something to bring to the table should bring what we can. So in this case, it's our great pleasure to host Cheryl's talk here, and I also want to thank the media production team that has done such a great job to ensure that not only will we have this talk together in this shared space of this room, but it will be recorded and it's currently live streamed. So this possibility is fantastic, and the expertise that we get to invite into the room was made possible by the School for the Arts. I'd like to thank Andrew Denton for making that possible. I always want to acknowledge the role of USask Arts and the citizens of Canada through the Canada Council for the Arts. Well, everyone pays $6.86 on their taxes for the arts. Look what you're getting. It's really kind of remarkable. And so I want to sincerely thank all of the citizens of Canada and all of us to recognize what it is to be responsible, to be in relation, and when we have the opportunity to listen, to take that up. So, who is speaking today? And Cheryl said I could just riff on this, but I feel it's too important for me to just suggest that we've known each other a long time, because I also know in that knowledge there's been ebbs and flows and passages and changes, and some of the things to be acknowledged are incredible, and I'd like to say them for you, Cheryl, so please forgive me for going on script now. So, Cheryl Lerondelle, described here as Cree, half-breed, German, Polish, is a community-engaged, interdisciplinary artist and singer-songwriter with family ties to Amiskwachi, Waskahikan, excuse me, Joseph, you're going to have to help me, I did okay? Okay, which is known as Edmonton. Papache's First Nation and Kikino Métis settlement in Alberta. As a songwriter, Lirondel's focus is on sharing Nehiyawewan, Indigenous song forms, and personal narrative songwriting as methodologies toward survivance. Understand that. It's not survival, it's survivance and thrivance. So Cheryl has performed, presented, and exhibited nationally and internationally, and is a recipient of the 2021, recipient in 2021 of the Governor General's Award in Visual and Media Art. It was one of my great pleasures to celebrate that with you in Ottawa, and Joseph was there as well. It was really a remarkable, true celebration, and often awards are inadequate recognition, and often they sidestep really what the labor is for artists to undertake. But that moment was truly one of joy as we saw so many people, and it was 4 years altogether because it was after the COVID experience, and all of a sudden you recognized just how powerful, urgent, and necessary the work of artists is doing, what we are able to do in this ecology, and I'm only so pleased to call you friend. Please welcome Cheryl Lirondelle.
Hey. We had a karaoke event. As you can see, Peter Morin and Shotgun Jimmy's work is still here, and so I was teasing her. I wanted to rock out on the microphone and do a little, but I won't. I'll be good. Let me see. Here we go. Cheryl Lirondelle neta siega son apito san square o mania nehi o square go mystico sui no square. So I just always, even though I'm not a fluent speaker, like a couple people in the room today, Angie Campbell and Joseph Netauhau, I like to try and use my mom's language as much as I possibly can whenever I can to keep that sound on the land here. So I'll try not to talk too long, and I'll try and whip through these slides and leave you with something salient to think about or to take away with. But I just have to warn you, I do come from a family that makes a short story really long, so I'll do my best here. I've got a timer though, and I'll keep my eyes on it. The thanks have already been made, but I want to thank you, Jake, from my heart to you for making this artist talk happen here. Usually, as you all know, when you go to art galleries, they happen like usually in the evening, just moments before the opening. And I'm getting old and I don't have a brain at that time of the day. So for any of you that, I hope you will come to the show tonight or anytime during this until the 17th of April. But if I don't have a long conversation, it's because I have absolutely no brain and all I can do is smile and shake your hand. That's about all I can do in the evening. So here, hopefully, I'll say a few more salient things than tonight. So I want to just start out by telling you who I am, of course, and where I'm from. And these are my 4 of my uncles. My mom's from a family of 15 kids, and the Lirondells were very musical. So it's sort of a natural thing in my family that we grew up singing, dancing, and learning whatever instrument we could or however we wanted to accompany family jams. So it's just always been there for me. So that'll set up a little bit later what I'm going to be presenting and showing with regards to what's at the Paved Arts Gallery tonight. And I was telling Joseph I feel comfortable showing these photos because 3 of the 4 uncles have passed away, and it's been more than 4 years, and 1 uncle is still with us, so I can show these photos. Mott's. On the end, just almost out of the photo, is John, and that's Donnie's grandfather, his Mushum. Okay. And these are my mums, my mom and her sisters, my mums. Big mum and little mums. I want to share this because I think it's, what I've realized is that everything who I am is because of my relatives, you know, everything, how I look at the world, how I make anything in the world is because of them. And I think we all have to kind of be true to that. There's a chair here. If you want to come and sit down. I think we have to be true to that because we'll try to sort of make things up, or we'll try to sort of construct a new reality for ourselves, but those ancestors and those relatives and their stories and their teachings, they're just going to come back through you, and you're going to have to resolve yourself with them for the good or for the bad or otherwise, right? So in my family, I was told by my mom and my aunties and my uncles, who I've shown you all, that they told me to keep busy. They told me to share my opportunities. They told me to use my skills and my talents, and also to be humble, to know who I was and where I was from, but to have a sense of humility about it and make it something bigger. And I think that I've always said to some friends, close friends, that when I pass away, on my epitaph, it will probably say, there's always a workaround. Because that's the other thing my mom taught me, was be inventive. And in fact, not only my mom, I'll show you this next slide. This is an exhibition at Paved many years ago, before the current staff were all there. This is Tim Dallett, you can see, who used to be at Paved. And the reason I'm showing you this photo is me working with technology. I'm working with some pirate radio gear that I owned. And this is to show a photo of my dad. He just recently passed away, so I won't show a photo of him for a few years. But my dad really also taught me, be inventive. My dad taught me how to solder when I was 3 years old. So by 3, I was already soldering cables and wires together. So, I think that's why I say, it comes from everyone. You're going to get this inspiration and these ideas and these ways of being, and just really, be honored that you were born into the family you were born into, for whatever that's worth. This show is, this piece was called Awaka Machi Wepiwapsko Wachia. And can you translate that? I'll translate it if you don't. I will if you don't. That's the story. It's climbing the Iron Mountains. And it was this notion that if my ancestors came to this place today, they would see all these tall buildings and they would think they were big iron mountains. And so it was an intervention where I climbed buildings on behalf of the winged beings, and at the roof of the buildings I would erect a pirate radio, and I would play audio that I collected from people that was meant to be on behalf of the winged beings, because that's not our domain, right? Our domain, our feet are on the ground, right? So, but that's to also honor my dad. So whether it be from my dad's teaching of don't be scared of technology, learn how things work, or my mom saying keep busy, and my aunts and uncles telling me to always share my opportunities, whether it be me singing, whether it be me making performance art, there was always a sense of me wanting to share, wanting to share that spotlight. And this is a piece that's from Regina from a few years ago. I had discussed with Sagewiwak. Actually, I talked with Peter Stinson the other day about this. We were talking about taxi art, and I was saying I posed this idea to a Sagewiwak Storytelling Festival to do a storytelling taxi ride. And they said, well, we want to try and get lots of people to go to your stuff, so why don't we rent a bus? So it became the Great Indian Storytelling Bus Tour. And the idea was that you could go anywhere in the city, you could tell the bus driver where to go, as long as you were willing to tell a story about that location when you got there. And then because it was February, it was also an opportunity to make up new rules. So every group of people that would get on the bus, I'd say, what are the rules? And one of the rules was we'll let anyone on the bus and take them where they need to go, but they need to either sing a song or tell a story. So we gave a lot of people rides right to their door that day, thanks to Regina Transit. I also got to sing, so that was kind of my subversive little thing. I wanted to be the tweener act who sang between the stories. So I think I wanted to share this too. I'm aware that there might be a few people online from a program that USask Music is having right now. It's an Indigenous program, and so if there's any online that are listening in, I wanted to sort of also focus a little bit on how, you don't have to silo your work. You don't have to be a musician and only a musician, or a visual artist and only a visual artist. That everything can actually blend and merge really for me, it's worked out really well. It's been a beautiful thing. And then the community engaged component, which has kind of really been powerful, this notion of getting to share this stage in this spotlight. And thank you, Danielle from Commonweal, for all this. So early on, I also learned that I was never going to be a pop star. As much as I wanted to be a pop star, that was not probably going to happen. I'm shy. I mean, I'm in front of you right now, but I actually spend a lot of time by myself, and when I have to be in front of people, I'm in front of people because that's my job. But I realized that that wasn't going to be something I was going to probably manifest. But I knew that I could still get my songs out into the world, and I knew I could still be really creative all the while. And so I started making experimental music videos. And this is a still from my very first music video that I made, and it's called 40 Blocks. And so I shot it, I did all the blue screen, which is now called green screen. I sang the song, I performed the song, I recorded the song, so it was really DIY, but it ended up being the first of a long line of experimental music videos that I've continued to make. And this next piece, I thought we'd play. Oops, I think we need audio. There we go.
You should if you're well fed. Well, that was just her way of saying don't waste food. Quit your belly aching and clean your plate up. Don't go to bed on an empty stomach. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. As long as we got water, we got soup. Some people like to show off, and others lurk or hide. And some were born to shout their views, broadcasted far and wide. And others, well, they're into jokes, the kind from bathroom stalls. There's high-tech and exclusive forts, passwords and firewalls. And who doesn't want 5,000 friends to CC with spam mail? You're either hanging on the cross, or you're banging in the nails. That was just her way of saying, don't waste it. Quit your belly aching and clean your plate up. Don't go to bed on an empty stomach. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. As long as we got water, we got some. So come and have some pork and beans, rubber boo, pork soup, smoked salmon too, Indian fried bread or moose nose, baguette or Indian tacos, Indian steak, click pram cam, fried bologna, it's all Indian spam, muske, gahwe, kakiawak, misawi, sashkana, Indian ice cream, catfish cheeks, big bannock and scratch, with bear grease, Indian popcorn, and neck bones, come tease why there's no place like home. Now all this talking about food is making me remember things like a good man is hard to find, but a hard man is good to find. Beauty is skin deep, but ugly goes right to the bone. Don't ever forget what color your feathers are. Remember, a woman can run faster with her skirt up than a man can run with his pants down. Note, these are all things our mama actually used to say to us. And here's my personal favorite. If you're looking for sympathy, get a dictionary. It's right there between shit and syphilis. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make long as we got water, we got soup.
So that's a lot of my mom's sayings. Thanks. My mom, when I played her the song in the video, she said, I had sayings like that. And I was like, Mom, those are your sayings. And the piece, this was actually, I was now moving into making net art, so internet art, which was participatory. So it's different than, I'm a painter and I want to put my paintings on the internet and I want you to go to the gallery that deals and so you can buy them. I was actually making the work, so it was participatory. And that really started making me realize even more about the ability of art to have people participate with you, where you could be making more dedicated and more specific pieces of work. This project is, I won't say more about it. I could say a lot more about it. It was tea towels and it was animated GIFs of Spam being carved up. It was a whole bunch of things, but I'll just move on. I just wanted to have a musical interlude, really, and tell you some dirty jokes from my mom. So I started, this is still more on the net art world. This was kind of like if I had a one-hit song, this would be my one-hit song. It's a project called treatycard.ca, and basically you go to the site and you make your own treaty card. And it's really dealing with the notion that the Indian, the treaty card and that whole process is really, the cards were given to Native people and status Indian people, but really we should all have treaty cards in the same way that you gave Jake the most eloquent and heartfelt land acknowledgement. That's really, should be the sort of true nature of understanding that we're on this land. And I don't mean to sort of dumb it down and say we're all treaty people, because there's problems with that concept, because most people will just say that and then run away and do whatever they want and buy whatever land they want and drive past people who, whatever, So, but I think it's important, the project was really a sort of thinking about that, if we're really going to have two sides signing a treaty, we should both honor it and we should all be people who sort of uphold that treaty. So it was an online project. Basically, it was form-based using database, and you could print out a card, and every time it was exhibited, there'd always be these little plastic sheaths, and you could make your own treaty card. But you'll notice the flag's upside down. So basically, I'm sort of making a commentary that not all is well with the nation state. As much as we're all happy being good Canadians and revolutionary Canadians these days, this was the commentary, was that there's issues with the nation state. One of the most beautiful things that happened during the making of this piece was every time it was exhibited, I could usually tell who was in the gallery because they'd all have the same background behind them. And so I could see exactly, oh, that's from the gallery, that's from the gallery. But there started being these men and women, middle-aged Native men and women who started making their own treaty cards. And for me, it was, I would sit up late at night as I was looking through the project to make sure everything was working and that there wasn't anything horrible happening to the code. And I would just cry because I realized that, there was people who had found this on the internet and realized that they wanted to make their own. They might have been, disenfranchised. They might have been, people who had been adopted out. There was a whole bunch of issues, and this really touched me. And it was great because some of these guys made several, so you could tell they were like, no, I like this picture better. Or, oh, I forgot, I want to be called this, So it was kind of great to see the variances of that. And I didn't make a song for this project. I didn't add a song because it's a serious subject. And if you've ever heard any of our ceremonial or treaty songs, there's a lot of weight to them. And I didn't want to write an Indian spam song for a treaty song. But that said, there's a show that's actually opening next Tuesday in Halifax, or Kitchbukduk. And it's a show called For the Use of the Inhabitants. And it's a graphic score, or a sonic graphic score, where you go into the gallery and under a parabolic speaker, you watch a 5-minute video that's got audio, and it's the audio of the waves, and it's in 5/4 time. It's telling you that it's in 5/4 time, and it basically, those two symbols on either side of the screen are repeat for any of you musicians. So it's basically telling you that within that, you just repeat over and over and over. And the instruction is in the gallery that it's an instruction for people to listen and to just sing their own right relations song to the place. And so, you know, it took several decades, and I finally have the treaty song, but it's participatory, and I'll get to go see next week how it's working in this space. Let's see. So let's get on to Why the Caged Bird Sings. I've been talking for 19 minutes now, and this is a photo from 2008 when I first started working with Commonweal, and specifically with Judy McNaughton, who's the Northern Artistic Director of Commonweal. But I'm going to back up just a little bit and tell you that really the idea for the project sort of came earlier. Many years before I'd been on the Powwow Trail in the East Coast, and you know, there's a lot of teepee creeping going on and stuff, and I ended up hooking up with a Mi'kmaq guy, and you know, he wanted me to sort of go off on a wild adventure with him. And he was telling me about, like, he'd been formerly incarcerated, and he was telling me about some of his best friends while he was inside in Edmonton. And he started saying all these names, and they were like my family names. And I was like, oh my God, these are my relatives he's talking about. Like, these are my family names. I have 50 first cousins, so I knew there were some of my cousins. They had to be, right? And because of all the names and alias that he said they used, I was like, oh yeah. So I just put that in my back pocket and thought, that's really interesting, you know? All my relations takes on a whole new meaning, you know? And then in 1999, Joseph and I, some of you who've been around for a long time will know that Joseph and I have a duo called Nigamuk. And we've been singing since about 1995, I think. And that's around the time I met you, Angie. We were up in we were up in Beauval at La Planche. Angie, at your reserve, that beautiful artist residency that we tried to start there, Wapamun. And I met Joseph, and he and I quickly shacked up and became a couple for a few years, and we toured relentlessly. We went, I think we hit, I don't even know how many of the reserves in Saskatchewan we performed at, but we were everywhere. We were on the road nonstop. And one of the gigs that we had in 1999 was we were invited to go to Pine Grove, the Women's Correctional Center in Prince Albert. And I'll try and tell the story really quickly. It was so pivotal, though. We walked in, we're on stage, like I'm standing in front of you right now, and two women walked in at the very front, and you could tell that they wanted to cause trouble. You could tell they were having a really shitty day, and they were going to disrupt if they could. And there was guards at the back that were just like focused on them, laser focused on them, like don't allow them to move, you know. And so I was kind of aware of what was going on. I'm like, okay, something's happening here, and we'll just try and perform and make everyone happy. So at one point I thought, well, let's do something engaging and participatory. So there's a very famous song called the Strong Woman Song. And oh no, actually that wasn't it. There is a song that Joseph and I sing from Black Lodge singers, and they did a whole album of kids' songs that they turned into powwow songs. And this one is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And it's always a bit of a joke. Like if I was to say to you, who here knows a powwow song? You know, I could maybe count on my hands, there's probably three. There's Marjorie Bocage, and there's Angie Campbell, and then I think Joseph. I think the three of you, I could pretty much say you know a powwow song, right? But you all would say, no, I don't know a powwow song. And then we'd start doing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and it goes like this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Hey, ya, hey, oh. And it goes on, and it's a powwow song. It's a full powwow song. So I thought this might be the way to get these two women to kind of join in. Well, there was a young woman sitting about middle in the audience, and she stands up and she says really loudly, "Are you going to sing the Strong Woman song?" And I was just like, whoa. I go, how do you know about the Strong Woman song? And she goes, my mom was in P4W. So P4W is prison for women. It was a very famous prison in the 80s when it got leaked to the media about how the Native women inside P4W were being abused. There would be, you know, it was a really run-down prison. I've actually been inside it after they closed it. Really run down. The women would be protesting different things, and they would bring in riot squads, and they'd do lockdown, and they'd pepper spray women, and they would strip search them, and they would throw them into cells naked, and they'd have to stay there. I mean, it was just horrible. It was atrocious, the treatment. So my heart just kind of my heart broke in that moment, realizing that here's this young woman who's now second generation incarcerated, you know. And so I said to her, I said, do you want to tell the story? And she said, no, you're on stage performing, you tell it. So I was like, okay. So I told the story, and I have to say Joseph was being perfect. He's like, she's with women. I'm just going to play when she tells me to play. I'm not saying a darn thing. So I told the story about the Strong Woman song and how it got changed to becoming the Strong Woman song. It had been contributed by Maggie Paul. She's a Passamaquoddy elder and singer, and she had shared it with the women, and it was just a woman's song that they sang. And then it was during one particular riot when they had just finished drumming and they'd put their big drum away, but they still had all their drum beaters on them. And they heard the sirens, and they started hearing lockdown, and they started hearing the footsteps of all the men that were coming in to the riot squads. And they were all standing in this corner of this common area, and just instinctively, they all started using their drum beaters, and on the edge of the walls and surfaces where they were, they just started singing the Strong Woman song. And if we had more time, we had all afternoon, I would sing the song and I'd get you all to sing it and we'd learn it all together. But suffice it to say, after they sang that song, the riot squad backed away from them. Not one woman was hurt that was in part of that group that day. Not one woman was dragged away. Not only that, they say that the pepper spray that was being sprayed, not one of them was affected. They were all completely fine, and they stood there for that whole entire riot together as one. And that made me realize, when I heard that story, firstly, it made me realize the power of when we sing together, when we have our own song. And after I told the story to the group of women at Pine Grove, I said, who here wants to sing Strong Woman song? And the two women at front, they were the first people to put their hands up. They were the first to say, we want to sing the song. And even the guards sang the song. Everyone sang that song, and it was a powerful moment. So that was really the kernel. That was the real, this idea of wow, okay, the power of that. And so in 2008, when Judy McNaughton invited me to come up for 5 days, and she had some money and she wanted me to come to Prince Albert and go into Pine Grove, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to write a song with this group of women that they were bringing together. And we wrote a beautiful song. Let's see if I'm telling that story. I told that story. This is the first group of women. Now, I've blanked out their faces except for the educator, who is Carla Powell. And I think she's with USask. Who's she with now? Is she USask? There's USask Lotteries and USask. What's the other one? USask Lottery and USask Culture. I believe she's with USask Culture now. She's amazing. If you ever meet her, just please treat her with incredible respect. She's a beautiful woman who's done a lot. So I wanted to sort of protect these women because I didn't get forms from them saying I can use their images. But together we wrote this first song that was called The Beauty Within, and it's a real kind of double meaning, They are the beauty within, they're incarcerated, and they also have beauty within. And it's this beautiful song about kind of all the sort of positive affirmations that once they get out, these are the positive things that they're going to do with their life. And then after that, we just were on a roll. We had one really good song recorded and a really good experience. All the women wrote letters saying, what a phenomenal experience it was. And it's a true fact. Any of you involved in prison work or prison studies or research, the moment you have programming inside a facility, the recidivism goes way down. Because you're giving folks stuff that they probably didn't get in school because they may have had rough family lives. They're not getting it on the streets. They're not getting a songwriting opportunity, if they're unhoused. So it's just a really good thing. So maybe I'm trying to say to the online folks and to all of you in the room, anything you can do to share, help, use your talents and your skills, and give some people, anybody, an inkling of something different that could happen in their lives. So after that, we went on and we wrote a couple more songs. Commonweal was wonderful and continued to raise funds for me. And we wrote, the next songs we wrote, I've got it written here somewhere and I'm just trying to find it. Oh, we wrote The Journey Home, beautiful song. And then, unfortunately, the woman who had been involved in both The Beauty Within and The Journey Home, she was tragically murdered in Prince Albert. And so this really affected the whole prison population. Everyone was, and all of us were very affected by losing one of our co-writers. And so the next two songs were Come My Sisters Come and Lightning Scarred Heart. And they really were songs to sort of deal with our grieving, but they were also songs to honor Margaret Siwap, the woman who was murdered. And then around that time, the art world was kind of like on to me and said, oh, well, she's kind of working on this song project, and is there something she would want to do to bring it into the gallery, knowing that, you know, that I have those chops as well. And so I went to Ogomaotsi Healing Lodge, which is actually the minimum security federal penitentiary that's at Maple Creek, and it was built at Nikanit First Nation, and it was built specifically for the women from P4W. So a lot of the old timers and lifers from P4W are at Nikanit at Ogomaotsi. So we wrote this song called Here I Am, but the warden wouldn't allow me to record everyone's voices. If you come to the gallery and you listen, there's listening stations, you'll listen to everyone's voices who wrote the songs except for this song. And that's the way, that's a warden's prerogative to decide how they want to run their prison. But what I did, instead I went to a residency and I asked 9 friends I was in residency with if they would sit in and as an act of solidarity and share their voice and their presence to be the voices of the women. And this was first curated by Steve Loft in Toronto, and it was an exhibition called Ghost Dance. And then that was in 2013, and then in and this is the idea that you're asked to cross your privilege. You're asked to sort of not be that kind of person that walks into a gallery, looks at the tag, walks on, looks at the tag, walked on. I even do that sometimes, I have to admit, you know, but the piece specifically asks you, answer the phone, pick up the transmission. Somebody's trying to tell you something, you know, and it's a really beautiful song. So then in 2015, Michelle Lavalle and David Garneau created that exhibition that was at Mackenzie called Moving Forward, Never Forgetting. And they asked me, they said, you know, could we get you to do another song? And so this time I went to Paul Dojak, which was a youth detention center. And this is a composite of all of there's like 3 or 4 seconds of each person, and I just made a composite to show you. And the idea is that African saying that it takes a village to raise a child. And so what I did was I went to a sports facility in Regina, and we had a video crew set up, and it was asking people, will you take 4 minutes out of your life just to listen to these young men and the song that they've composed. And it's a great song. Please come to the show and put the listening station on. I just love these songs. I still cry and tear up, and people do listen and go, that's a good song. And I go, I know, they're really good songs. And then that same year, Jamie Isaac and Leah Dector, curators, wanted something, and they wanted something a little more. They were like, okay, we want something that's kind of in the gallery and participatory. In the same way with Here I Am, you had to go lift up the receiver. So I turned it into, the song Can't Break Us, I turned it into Winter Count, which is what is the metaphor of the song. And you're in the gallery and you're asked to actually populate the winter count for the young men who can't because they're incarcerated, or detained rather. Well, kind of both in some ways. And so mostly it'll be people who listen to the song and will leave something like as a positive message to these young men. And I do photocopy all the little Post-it notes and send them back, even though the men they're all men now, they're all grown up, but it's a way to kind of continue that transmission that, you know, that they're being heard. Let's see, we've done that. And, okay. And then Commonweal comes in a really big way. There's a gallery in Prince Albert called The Man, and it's in a center. What's the center there? Say that again. There we go. But what we know about the Rawlings Center is that there's probably not a lot of Native people that are going to go into the Rawlings Center. They might kind of feel intimidated. They might, who knows what they're going to encounter. So Judy said, can you do something so that we can challenge people to come into the Rawlings Center, people from the community? And I said, yeah. I said, let's do some more with some of the songs from the project. And this is a VR. This is just a machinima shot of a VR. And the song, or the piece is called Medicine Kitchen Table, but the song is The Beauty Within, the very first song from the project. And we did this project during the pandemic, or the exhibition during the pandemic. And of course, we couldn't do VR. There was no way that we would have a VR visor because they'd have to clean it after every person, and they could only allow 5 people in at a time. And it was just, so what we did, it was a beautiful giveaway. And this is kind of another idea, that anytime you can give stuff away, it's a wonderful, good feeling. So we found knockoff Google Cardboard that you put your phone in. And so for that exhibition, everyone was, given a Vimeo link, and they would put it on their phone, and they would just use Google Cardboard, and they'd be able to stand in the space, and that way we didn't have to minimize participation. So that was version 1, and then post-pandemic, I made a second version, and this is kind of dealing with Baudrillard's Simulacra, the notion that that there's this notion of art about life about art, and there's this kind of ongoing thing happening where, is it real life you're experiencing, or is it art you're experiencing? So basically, if you're inside the VR, if you've got the visor on, what's underneath you is the cushion that you're sitting on, and what's above you is what's above you in the gallery. So wanted to create that kind of a loop and that kind of a sense. Let's see. Then I went into Prince Albert Correctional Center. I get mistaken because I'm from a town in Alberta too, and I go, am I saying the name of my town? Okay, so we went into the men's correctional, and I went with Joseph. And I have to tell you, Joseph is fabulous. My God, there'd be moments where these guys would be so frustrated with me because they're like, who's this mouthy half-breed telling us that we got to write a song in 5 days, and telling us, you got 15 minutes. I want a sentence from you, And Joseph would kind of test the level and go, oh, they're a bit stressed. And so he was getting them do stuff like theater games, and they were doing musical chairs, and it was just brilliant. I mean, it was so great that, they just were like, finally, a guy who gets us. But we wrote 2 songs actually there at PAGC, PACC. And this song is called To All Our Nations. And I asked the guys, because I showed them some of my stuff, and I said to them, if I was to ever make a music video of your song, what do you want? And they said, well, it would have to be about the bush, because that's where we're from. And so I don't have a picture of the cushion, but if you come into the gallery, you'll see the sort of connection to the bush, and it's in the video as well. But I also wanted to deal with the concept of impossible places. We find, I can't imagine being incarcerated. That would be an impossible place to be. But I also think within our worldviews, there's places that we don't regularly get the vantage point of. And so, for instance, unless you're like a 3-year-old child, you might never get to be underneath a big drum, So the piece is about these impossible places and kind of the spiritual realms that are in these impossible places. And it's another experimental VR piece and part of the show. Let's see. I will see what's next. Oh, yes. So now I want to talk about what this project has netted out with. It's a touring exhibition. There's 4 individual media pieces that are all musical pieces, but they're also participatory. They invite community in to take part in the work. The project also is 9 singles that are distributed. And all of the songwriters get residuals from everything. I have a music publishing entity that has an escrow account because It's like herding kittens, you know what being in the art world is like. It's the same with incarcerated populations, or formerly incarcerated populations. So I have money held in escrow that everyone who was a writer gets their portion of proceeds. What else about it? Oh, forthcoming is a limited edition double album vinyl. Because what I did with each song was, like Peter and Jimmy's piece, I realized that some of the writers might want to go to an open mic and might want to sing their song. And so the CD single actually has the song with everyone's voices, and then it has a karaoke version, so that it would be really easy to walk in someplace and go play the second track and they can sing their song, right? So it's a double album, limited edition vinyl release, with one being all the songs with voices and the second one being just karaoke versions. What else is it netted out with? There's 9 karaoke videos, and those are going to be projected at AKA Gallery during the day. You'll be able to like listen to the song on the street, and it'll be these very simple karaoke videos, black with lettering that turns color. What else? And there's also a forthcoming CD, so not only the limited edition vinyl, but it'll be a CD that's coming out. And the premiere for the CD is the 17th of April, which is the last day of the exhibition that will be at Paved Arts in their event space upstairs. I'm really honored that this gentleman is going to be joining me amongst other musicians. Joseph will be there. There'll be other musicians. His name is Burke Jodewin. He won the Saskatchewan Music Indigenous Recording last year or the year before. And so he's a really talented songwriter. And I'm really also honored to say that I'm working with Commonweal and Burke, because I'm transferring the method that I use in co-writing songs to Burke, because he wants to continue the work. And Commonweal has been really gracious in wanting to help support that as well. So it's kind of, you know, for an artist, it's like a win-win that somebody else wants to come and take it and make it their own and continue this work. So I'm super honored that Burke is around, and I found out I'm related to him too, so it's great. So please come to the concert. If you're not available anytime before then, it's free, it's at Paved, it's in the evening. I think the doors open at 7:30, it's April 17th. And it'll be a full 2 sets of really great music, the songs from the project, and then also all of the guest artists who are going to be performing, or will each do like 1 or 2 of their own songs as well. So it'll be an amazing full night. I should say that if we have time, 41, I do have time, perfect. So how do I do this again? Al or Ben, one of you guys, come and show me. I've forgotten. I know there's something I do. All right. Everyone, this is Ben. So we have time to, the latest song, which is actually the song that the warden wouldn't allow me to record. I got a group of about 12 Indigenous women from all across the country to sing on this song, and it's called Here I Am. And I want to just play it because it's just late, breaking, new single, the final single from the project. And there's lyrics. So you can sing along. Loud enough?
confess my love of love. In this place, you are a stranger, and I want so bad to be at ease. Oh, the healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. Low love, here I am, raspy truth, here I am. Strong message, here I am, loud roar. Pillow, soft and comforting, give me a taste of freedom. My dream is a window, and all I need now is for you to be adored. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. I am not a bad person. I'm not a great one either. I never stopped trying, but I did stop praying. I wonder why I'm still here. It must be important. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, bless my mouth. The healers have come, my spirit is free. The women are singing, women are singing, the women are singing, here I am.
So I know we have a bit of time, hopefully, for some questions or comments. But I just want to, once again, really from my heart, thank you, Jake, for having me and letting me do this during the day when I still have a bit of a brain. And also huge gratitude to Commonweal Community Arts. If any of you are in the room and you're artists and you have ideas for community-engaged projects, please contact Commonweal. Also, thanks to Paved. If you want to learn stuff about media art or you have ideas for work, they've got great workshops and a great space that you can do that work in. I want to thank Elder Joseph Natauhau for coming to listen to the talk, and to my old friend Angie Campbell and Marjorie Bocage for coming. So it's great to have old friends in the room. Ekse, kenenas komten. That means that's all.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I want to be very clear that when you say thank you to me, you're saying thank you to Cole Thompson, Leah Taylor,
Hi.
Gabby De Silva, and several others that we'll be joined by for tonight. Obviously a remarkably moving moment, and thank you so much for saying Judy McNaughton's name so often. I made an error in the beginning, and I'm quite embarrassed about that. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Okay, good news. Obviously an incredible project that's brought so many things into the room. Are there any questions or comments for Cheryl today? Or did she just cover it all? She did such an incredible job. She really took a, yeah.
If I didn't bore you to tears, then I...
There was no bore.
Okay.
Are you still in touch with some of the group? And
Yes.
so are some of them out?
Yes. Both. Some I am in touch with and some are out. And some are still in, sadly. Yeah. So it's a long journey. I actually regularly troll obituaries and Facebook and any other social media. That's now become a part of my life to try and keep track of the folks that I got to write songs with. So, and I maybe one more thing that you didn't ask. My nephew, I've discussed with him that after I pass away, that I'm handing it to him, and he has to continue to this work. So, monitoring, managing, distributing funds for the music and stuff. So, yeah.
Isa.
Thank you so much for your generosity, Cheryl, and for everything that you do, quite honestly. Thank you, thank you. There are a number of my students here in the room today, and so I'm going to ask a technical question. With the music video, the blue screen video, excuse me, that you showed us, I'm curious if that was still on video, and how and what technology you were using, and how you gained the skills to be able to produce that.
So thank you. That's a good question. That was back in the days when I was in Calgary, and there was M Media in Calgary, and then I shortly after moved to Toronto, and there was a few centers in Toronto like Charles Street Video, and it's distributed through VTape, and it's still available online. Actually, I didn't have a copy of it. I was like, crap, I didn't call VTape to get a preview copy. But it still tours around. How did I learn the skills? I was really lucky. I was part of a group of women invited in Calgary many, many decades ago now. And they were working on a project, and it was a video project. So they did the editing. I just had to shoot it. So I'm not a great editor. I really love hiring that out to people who know what they're doing, because I was telling Cole and Ben and Al that similarly I don't do PowerPoint presentations because I think I would get carried away by all the gizmos and they would be the tackiest things you've ever seen. So I leave that to people who know how to do really elegant editing. And I should say also in my work, I credit everyone, so there'll be people who get credited for what they do. I mean, it's still my artwork. It wasn't a collaboration. We didn't get into a room and go, let's make something together. I know what I want to do, all the artistic direction, but I pay people well and I credit them. And I usually try to work with younger artists because it's also a great way that they can add stuff to their CVs. So as they're kind of building their CVs, that they can go, and then they can get rid of them when they don't need them anymore, when they don't need those credits. So that's what I always say.
I'll go here again.
Coast.
You can go in then, Gabby. Is that okay?
And so kind of on that, what's your process for taking the written song and turning it into a recording? Like adding instrumentation, adding all that extra stuff. Is that all you? Do you have people you work with? Or?
Good question. I definitely not all me. Early on in the project, the very first song was a drum song. So it was really easy to just bring some guys into Pine Grove and to get them to record. And I know how to play a drum really well, and I sing. So it was easy. Then after that, I realized that, I love the question, it's so important, because what I started realizing is that if you don't have tone center, if you don't have the key that the song's in, sometimes people's voices can get kind of all over the place, So I started asking some different colleagues of mine who were professional musicians and producers. And I said, I'm working on this project, are you interested? And I'm super honored that the guys that all said yes. So on different songs, this song is Gregory Hoskins doing most of the guitar. He did about maybe 4 songs. I had Mark Schmidt in Regina on a couple songs. Glenn Enns, who's a drummer here and a producer here in Saskatoon. And then David Trevor Smith. I always like to brag about David Trevor Smith. He's kind of like a legendary folk producer, and he recorded a few songs and produced one song. So, and all those guys have chops. They have, they're all multi-instrumentalists and and I'm still doing the artistic direction, and I'm still co-producing because I'm like, no, I don't want that guitar. No, I'd rather did this, so I'm kind of a bossy old lady in that way. And then I'm usually doing some percussion on all the songs, and I'm usually singing on every single song in some way. Yeah. I think that answered the question. We record on the 5th day. On the 1st to the 3rd day, the song is taking shape. By the 4th day, the melody presents itself to me, and it's based on the sort of cadence of the lyrics that we've workshopped together. And then on the 5th day, and then on the 4th afternoon, we rehearse because the melody's there, and we rehearse the crap out of it. And then the 5th day, we bring in some very simple recording gear, like a laptop, a reflection microphone, a Rhodes with a mic stand, and I get each person one by one to sing parts several times, and then we take it into a studio, and we do a lot of melodyning, and then we add all the other instruments. So there, that's kind of the comprehensive how it's all done.
I was wondering, you say how you pay those who are incarcerated. Like, I guess, yeah, it's kind of like the incarcerated, do you pay like this into the funds what they can buy while they're incarcerated, or yeah, how exactly do you pay them? I guess for contributions.
How do I see their
How
contributions?
do you pay them?
Oh, okay, so you're not allowed to pay people when they're in, except for in youth detention. So if you're working in youth detention, you actually can go bring some cashier's checks up to the front, and they'll put them on there. And then later on in the process, I realized that Prince Albert actually also had some sort of similar thing at the front where you could actually put some money in. But unfortunately for me, when I finally found that out, those guys were gone. So I bring them anything I can bring in, like while we're working, to keep them motivated. So we have nice coffee, and we have donuts, and we have really smelly hand lotion. We just do anything we can possibly do that's legal to bring in. And then, like I say, there is a fund, a bank account, that all of their residuals, each and every single one of them, it's there. And when I find one of them, and this I do find some of the co-writers after they've finally gotten out, they have to sign an agreement, and once they sign the agreement, we do an e-transfer, and they get all their money that's been sitting there. And so it's the thing about music publishing you learn is that it's called a revenue stream. I did a course, and what they say is that music publishing, it starts out with drops, like pennies, but if you manage the money properly, that little drop turns into a trickle, and if you keep managing it properly, it'll turn into a stream, right? So there's money in a bank account for every single co-writer. I also pay the artists, so there's money similarly in an account for all the artists, so they get paid for all their artwork. And we're not talking millions, but there's money for everybody. And yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah, okay.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. We are at 1:30, and I know that this is fitting into some people's school day, so I'm going to ask everyone to thank you one more time again. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I also just want to remind everyone that this is an incredibly busy, important day here in Saskatoon. As you know, the opening tonight at Paved is at 7 p.m., and it's not just the opening of Cheryl's presentation, it's also a launch of the publication Black Flash. And Black Flash will then continue to a party at Pop, where we will celebrate this iteration called Taste, this recent issue. And our very own Cole Thompson has a piece in that work. Ooh. So we're also very excited about that.
Hey, cool.
I did already mention that if you say thank you to me, you are really saying thank you to all of these people. But I do want to thank especially Cole Thompson and the work you've done to make sure this rounding space has been so effective. And to Gabby De Silva, who has been shortly running around with everyone. I want to thank Leah Taylor for always supporting all the work that we do at such a high level. And Al and Ben.
Al and Ben.
They are our new team members, whether they like it or not. Yeah. Thank you so much. But I have to also say, whoop, whoop, whoop. I have to say one more thing, because we have another event here tonight, this evening at 4 p.m. It's our great pleasure to award the Opinamage Award, which is a $10,000 cash prize to Indigenous artists whose land intersects with the colonial borders we now call Canada. And this year, the award, the Opinamage, Joseph was teaching me to say the H properly, so I'm working on it. Opinamage Award is to Audie Murray. So if you are able to join us this evening.
Hey to Audie,
yeah.
Hey.
So you could come here, hear Audie speak, have some really good snacks, then gather with friends and go to Paved, and then go to Pop, and you're really going to have a full Saskatoon day of remarkable and notably Indigenous artists. I'm very excited to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ekose.